Hi, and welcome to Positive Partners, a show about training dogs so that you have a good experience and a good relationship with your dog. Today we're going to talk about walking and how important that is. Walking your dog, it's good for you to walk, it's good for the dog to walk. And one of my things I always tell people, a tired dog is a good dog. So daily walks of over a mile are very good for both of you, and it's a bonding experience. And with me as always is Tom High School. Okay, we're adjusting cameras.
Okay, that's fine.
Tom High School is here, who's a certified dog trainer.
Yeah, I'm Dr. High School. I have a PhD in clinical psychology, which was my practice for 30 years, and I've retired from that. Now I work with people if they carry a leash or bring in a fishbowl, and I work with a lot of different animals. Look that way. Okay. Look this way. Anyway, I'm in Portsmouth. I trained at the Karen Pryor Academy for animal training and graduated with distinction to positive training type of approach, which is where we all need to start. And we'll be talking about dog walks. You did a walk with your 4 dogs, getting out of a small car. It's a beautiful video, and besides that, you did the video of the dogs there at the beginning, and those are all dogs at the shelter.
They're probably not there now, but yes,
yeah.
Those are shelter dogs, so you can see how nice they are,
Yeah.
and please go to your local animal shelter to adopt before you go and buy a dog.
Yeah, and that's a great idea. They are, if they're not there, then dogs like them are available. You'll find one that suits you. Well, so to your dog walking video.
Yeah, it could be challenging if they didn't lead so well, because I've got over 350 pounds worth of dog with me. So,
wow.
So go ahead and we'll roll that beautiful doggy footage. Okay, we're at the Gallia County Bike Trail, and we're going to take my dogs for a walk. And just getting them out of the car is going to be a little challenge because we have about 340 pounds of excited boys or dogs in here. So we'll see how that goes. Come. All right. Get the leashes so nobody runs off. The other good thing to do, I think, is if you have multiple dogs, is to color code the leashes so you know when you're looking at your hand who's on what leash. And I always use the same leash on the same dog every time. So at first there'll be a little bit of chaos. Everybody's sniffing around because we normally go on walks. Well, about half the time we go on walks off leash, so they're not exactly used to every time going on lead. So the last time we were out, they were running around the fields and everything else. So let's get going. Okay, so that wasn't too bad. One of the challenges I have with my pack here is I have everything from a 6-month-old to a 7-year-old with arthritis. So one's gonna want to go pretty quickly, and he's gonna fall behind. He's usually beside or behind me. Oliver's good. These guys are Bernese Mountain Dogs. Ulrich, Oliver. These 2 are mixed breeds, and she is 6 months. That's Rosalind, and Riley here is 10. So let's keep going and wear these guys out. one of the best things you can do with your dog is to walk them. It's a bonding experience, and not only that, but it's good exercise, and it's good for them, because a tired dog is a good dog. Also, being a good dog citizen is important too. Whenever I come across another dog, I usually pull over another dog or bicyclist or runner. I go off to the side so that they can pass. No. It's easier to control. Hey. It's easier to control them when you're standing still and you don't have them running everywhere. And it also is less excitement if you have somebody that's riding a bike and they like to chase things. If you get them stopped, then they're less in chase mode. And it's also good for other people to know, don't just walk up to a dog and pet it. You should ask the owner if it's friendly and if you can pet it first. Alright, so we're almost at the end of our about a 1 mile walk. 1 mile is good enough for Ulrich because he has arthritis, but this is another important point in choosing a dog. Get one that matches your activity level. These guys are good for 1 to 2 miles. Now if you had a husky, they would go a lot longer, so keep that in mind when you adopt or get a dog. Another cool thing about walking them on pavement like this, you don't have to trim their nails as often because this is a natural abrasive, and the more you take them for walks, the more their nails just naturally get shorter. So have fun taking your dogs on walks and keeping them and you in shape. Okay, that was me and my boys, or
Yeah.
well, there's one girl, but
You had some really great points in there. You know, take your dogs off to the side. Then one of the people picked up their dog. It's just great dog courtesy there, and the pack walk that you did it's comfortable for dogs. That's a natural group for them, and a guy who had a dog that was a friend of mine who's a retired physics professor who assesses dogs at Sierra's Haven for a rescue wagon that's sponsored by PetSmart. Anyway, they got a dog that was just a stray. The dog was very reactive, and we pack walked with that little dog Andy and my dog Bo, and what we did was we kept them at a distance at which Andy was okay. And then gradually they got used to the smell and look and behavior.
okay,
And
so
then-
he wasn't walking within the dogs. He's
Yeah.
either following or leading or around.
following and leading. And usually if you're going to do that, you know, the dog that is fearful does better to be behind
Right.
or to the parallel to the side. Anyway, now those dogs can lie down next to each other. They are totally comfortable with one another. We walk them right beside each other. It's great.
Walking does a lot of great things for your dogs.
It does.
You know, not only just bonding for you, but I don't know, it calms them down. You know, it's a group experience, and like you said, sometimes the more fearful, reactive, the calm dogs will kind of rub off on the energy.
Yeah, they will. They copy off of each other, and like you've done with your dogs, they've learned some sort of, okay, let's ignore this person, bicycle, and if you're too close, well then move like you did off to the side, and if that's too close, move farther away to the point where the dog can go, oh, instead of, oh my goodness, or oh no, you know.
Yeah, and you want to do
use
this
distance as your friend.
Right,
yeah.
you want to do this in a calm way. You don't
Yeah.
want to like jerk them, like they can sense like, oh my God, somebody's coming.
Right,
And
they
then
pick that up.
Right,
Yeah.
so you want to be calm.
Okay, and if we can go to that next slide there. Okay, how many kind of walks are there? Well, there's more than one. There's the who's walking whom when we get kidded.
Yeah, I get that all the time because I have big dogs. And
Big
it's like,
dogs, right.
They're not pulling me. Come on,
Yeah,
I know
come
he's
on.
big.
Yeah, just getting razzed when they're being really polite. There's a go play. I have a go play walk with my dog, which is, hey, go do what you want to do. Just don't pull me off my feet. There's a sniff walk. Those are very rewarding for dogs because 40% of their brain is devoted to smell. And so for them, they're reading a whole dictionary about what's been there and how long ago and what direction did they go and how healthy is this animal and a boy or girl and how many. And
yeah, and that's one of the things where I have, my crew doesn't go, at a great, they don't look like extremely obedient dogs, but half the time we're out in the fields on a farm walking, and I just let them go, and they stick with me.
Have fun.
The only thing I worry about there is, what kind of poo are they sniffing and possibly munching on?
Right.
Rabbits and deer and all kinds of stuff.
And that's what they're worried about too. Well, what kind of poo can I find to sniff and munch on? And I kind of know what kind of poo Bo likes. There's a certain texture. It's just right. Anyway.
Poo-sickles.
Poo-sickles. Then on the point of if you can, and most of us are too busy, but it's a good idea to tire our dogs out a little bit before we get started and throw a ball to them or whatever gets a little bit of energy out. You mentioned there are brisk walks. Now dogs, we're slow pokes compared to dogs, obviously. So if you've got a dog you're starting off with, you can make it easier if you're physically able to walk briskly with the dog. That's going to make it easier for the dog to stay with you instead of what do I have to do to get this person to move along. When you think about it, dogs are pulling not because they're trying to show who's boss or anything. It's like that. They're just more or less, hey, hurry up. There's something neat ahead. Don't you see it? Let's get there. Why are you so slow? So
I've had heart issues, and when somebody asks me like, do you work out? It's like, well, I walk my dogs.
Yeah.
And they think, you're just moseying along. Like, no, I'm going quickly, as quick as I can, keep up with my big guys.
Right. And on that point, it's good for our health, and dogs bond with us more so with the person who walks them rather than being fed.
Right.
Unless maybe if they're on an earn to eat program and they're getting what they eat because they've done something you've asked them to do, then that's sort of like, okay, you control an important resource, then you're worth paying attention to.
Right.
And then there's jogging or running with your dog. We'll talk about what kind of leads to use for that. Casual relaxation walk. Keep the leash relaxed. Then there's heeling, which is a formal walk. The dog is right at your side. The dog is looking up at you, like that, and keeping focused on you, and that's more of a competitive type walk. And then there's pack walk that you did. If we can go to the next slide there, the harnesses, collars. Okay, so harness, collars, and halters, what do they have in common? They are all tools. They're pieces of equipment by which we transmit physical force to various parts of a dog's body. They do not by themselves teach a dog to walk along with this, but they can be helpful.
Right. Say like if you were a 100-pound female or aged person trying to walk a Bernese Mountain Dog that likes to pull, it comes in handy.
Yeah. Or if you've had arthritis, or if you just had something happen to an arm or something like that, you want the mechanics to help you instead of standing in the way. And it's interesting that dogs are the only animal that we attempt to influence by directing them around their neck.
I've seen it done with cats, but it don't work so well.
It don't work so well. I mean, you can get them to do it, but it's not easy.
Yeah.
With horses or with cattle, other large animals, we generally work with them with halters off of their nose. And so it's kind of like if you can influence where the dog is pointing with its head, you have some influence over its attention and so forth. And mechanically, it's a whole lot easier to influence a dog from up here. But we'll kind of get into that in a little bit when we demonstrate the various pieces of equipment quickly. we'll talk about why would dogs want to walk with us when we're slowpokes. There are 4 reasons. Something good happens when they walk near us. They get to continue walking towards something that they're interested in. Walking is
treats.
fun. Also treats. It's like the dog's near you, and you go, yes, good dog. So that's another reason. Or you can use, if they're toy dogs, then they're walking near you. You can, they're staying at your left side pretty close, a loose leash. You can go, yes, and then you pull out their toy, throw it, and they go, oh, wow, this is great. Walk near him, and then you get to play with your toy, your ball, which is the best thing in the world. So toy dogs can be really enthusiastic learners. So reason number 1, something good happens when they walk near us. We want to teach them to walk near us in a quiet, low distraction environment. So like we're inside our houses, in our hallways, nothing else is going on. Then maybe we're in our backyards, then maybe we're in our driveways, then maybe we're in our front yards. That's the teaching process there. Then we're out in the street where we've got some extra room and so forth. Second reason. Why do dogs stay near us? Well, they keep from losing something good that they want. Like if they get ahead of us, then we stop, and their forward progress stops, their fun stops. They don't get to get closer to the squirrel, to the person they want to see. They don't get to keep walking. Then when we stop, we just simply hold the leash to our, just hold it here at your stomach without like jerking on the dog or anything like that. The dog realizes they're not making any forward progress at that point. They turn around, they go, what gives? They take pressure off the leash, and you say, good, let's walk this way. Walk in the other direction. And then after they've walked with you and kept a loose leash for a few steps, you say you turn around and head back in the direction that you were, and you kind of repeat that process.
Now, I go on walks, half of the time, that's why my guys don't always like walk on a leash well, is because half the time we're walking off leash.
Yeah.
We're out on a farm, they're sniffing the fields. They usually don't go any farther than like 20 yards from me.
Yeah.
And you would only do that if you have good recall.
Yeah.
If you can let the dog go and it's like, hey, get back here, and they come back.
Yeah. Yeah.
Reliably.
Yeah. You teach that the same process. You're indoors, you're then in your backyard, you're out on your driveway, that kind of stuff. And you teach that with like a long line or something like that. You can teach puppies to walk with you without a leash, and that's a really good way to start, is teach them to walk with you even without a leash.
And then if at some point they don't come, I let Rosalind go once, and she just kind of looked back. She knew we were going that way, and she just kept on going. Part of the time I'll just reverse my direction, like I'm going back to the car, and that'll alert them and go, oh, I better go back there.
Yeah.
He's leaving. Or I'll go 90 degrees out into the field, like there's something out there that they should see.
Right.
And
right.
Then she'll
look at this.
Like, hey, Rosalind, come here. And it's like, there's something in the grass.
Yeah, right. He's found something.
And then she comes running back to me,
Okay.
and that way I can say the
So being near
situation.
you is a good thing, right?
And then another thing, I've seen people with they're chasing their dogs because they got out of the yard.
That didn't work. Yeah.
Don't chase your dog.
Right.
One thing I had heard that works, and I've tried it a few times, is act like you fell down, got hurt. If they're in the chase game, they're going to run.
Yeah.
But if they thought you got hurt, they're going to come investigate, and then you can nab them.
Yeah, right. And then if a long line or a drag line can be helpful, that's just a cord without a knot or anything in the end. Hello. Anyway, and then if they get too far away, you can simply step on that, and then
Right.
hey, come on back this way.
And I would use one of those tie-out leads probably for that. I let her drag those around sometimes.
Okay. And third reason that dogs stay, those first two are the keeping something that you want going on or keeping from losing it or getting something that you want. The reasons 3 and 4 have to do with things that dogs don't want to happen. One is the dog keeps something uncomfortable, that the dog makes something uncomfortable that's happening go away. So when you think about a horse, when we have a bit in the horse's mouth, that's not very attractive, is it? But anyway, when you have a bit in the horse's mouth here and there's some pressure on it, it doesn't have to be painful, but the horse learns to give to that pressure. Then when they turn their head this way, the pressure goes away, and so that's a negative reinforcement at that point. Something that's uncomfortable at some level, and we don't want to be extreme, goes away. For dogs, that can be pressure on various parts of their body and so forth. Well, we'll talk about this equipment in a little bit here. Examples of pressure that goes away that are pretty kind of punishment oriented are using prong collars, choker collars, and those kinds of things where the dog is actually getting strangled for air and so forth. And the dog, the idea
or like the
is
shock collars with the invisible fences and that sort of thing.
Yeah, that's an avoidance behavior. And when using anything that is uncomfortable, you have to teach a dog how to avoid that. The first thing is you want teach the dog what you're actually wanting. So you teach that by success.
And,
so you want the dog to know the behavior.
Another reason why you want to do that too is you want the dog to trust you.
Yeah.
You shouldn't ever really betray their trust and hurt them so they're afraid of you. You want their trust so that they want to do things for you and not because they're scared of you.
Right.
And if they're a reactive, scared dog, then sometimes that fear
that just cycles up. Yeah.
Turns into aggression. There's fear aggression. So
Right.
that's important.
Right. So things like shock collars and all that sort of stuff and prong collars, if someone uses those, they're not necessary for teaching. They've skipped steps 1 and 2. It's
a crutch.
It's a crutch. I'm not disagreeing with people who are sports dog trainers who are very, very competent at what they're doing, but those folks have a level of skill that is far beyond the regular pet owner. So we want to start with
beginning training.
This is beginning training, and you don't begin with punishment-oriented stuff because that's addicting. You get a temporary effect, and then people ratchet up, and that's what they stay focused on. And the next thing is reason number 4: dogs will stop to avoid pulling on a leash if something really bad happens. They get hit with electricity, they get a sharp pull, they get a snap on the collar and so forth. Those have all kinds of behavioral fallout often enough to be concerned about it. Also, dogs that are given strong leash corrections, a pretty high percentage of them have tracheal damage over the long run. So, okay.
Especially with choker collars.
Yeah, that's very true. Okay, we'll talk about equipment here. And equipment, you have harnesses. In the case of this dog here, and we have a point of attachment back here, which is where you want to attach if you want a sled dog. If your dog pulls hard, this isn't a very effective point of attachment.
Unless you want to be pulled.
Unless
Sometimes
you want
I
to
like
be pulled.
a little help coming up the hills.
That's right. Then move out. Go ahead. There is on this collar a point of attachment.
Should be center front.
It should be center front. This one's
right here.
Yeah, this one's a little high. Ideally, it would be down here. Anyway, what happens is when a dog moves forward, they automatically lose their forward progress because when they get ahead of you and they get to the end of the leash, that turns them around. And when they turn around and then the leash is loose, that's hard to say. Loose leash, loose leash, loose leash. Anyway, Yeah. Anyway, when the dog takes pressure off, then you say, good, okay, let's go this way. You go the opposite direction when the dog's been walking with you a few steps, then you say, okay, let's go back this way, and then you bring the dog around and you head back on up. You'd mentioned too, kind of briefly, that one thing you do is you walk one direction and another. Unpredictably, you'll go a certain direction, you're predictably unpredictable, and the dogs learn. You start with a longer line, the dogs learn to pay attention to where you are, because you might be going this way, you might be going that way, and then so they get a little tug here. We're not punishing, we're not giving a jerk. It's just simply, hey, we're going that way, and we're not telling them, you know, and we're not saying, hey, you better come this way. We're just going where we're going. And then you do want a reward when the dog's at your side, so the dog knows what you're wanting. Okay, so those are harnesses. Another one is our head halters. The dog is the only animal that we attempt to control by the neck. Horses and cattle and large animals we control influence their motion with a halter. And here we have two types of halters. This is a gentle leader, and
now your dog's not going to quite like that.
No, they have to be accustomed to it. If you start dogs off when they're puppies, that's particularly useful. Puppies that are started with have a very, very high percentage chance, because this is just really gets them good start on training with staying in their homes.
And I probably wouldn't do a lot of the changing directions with that.
No, that's a good point. And on changing directions, you probably want the attachment up here rather than on the neck, you know, if you can. But anyway, this is a very effective way to bring the dog around. If you're running with the dog, you probably do want your attachment, you know, either on a flat collar or on the back of a harness, because if a dog gets ahead of you and then hits the end of its leash, and you know the dog wasn't paying attention, you weren't paying attention, and they spin around, they could really get hurt. And like
I thought about like getting some roller skates and let me pull.
There we go. Yeah.
I'm afraid I would go towards every cat and squirrel in the neighborhood.
There people do stuff like that, and it works. And you know, And so these are the harnesses. Then there are the collars. This is a type of martingale collar, flat collar.
It's kind of a choker,
but not really.
Right. It stops at a point. It doesn't go till infinity. Yeah.
This martingale, here, once it's, well, I don't have this quite properly adjusted, but it only pulls to it only closes to a certain point, so it's not going to choke the dog's air off.
One of the reasons I use that is I like to keep the collar a little loose. But when I'm on a walk, if they start pulling or pulling back, if they're trying to avoid something, I want it to like close up a little bit so it doesn't come over their head.
Right, yeah, because dogs
this type of thing, just the regular collar will come right off.
They can get out of those. They can also squirm out of harnesses. It's amazing to see.
But I've had really good luck with those.
That is a very good point of attachment. So that's some of the equipment. Now you would do all this sort of stuff has to be, you want equipment that is solid. If a dog's very strong, you want one, you know, leather and metal attachments and so forth.
So you can put a couple fingers behind it,
couple fingers underneath the collar there. Go to the manufacturer's site. They'll give you videos, and you can see how to properly adjust this equipment, and you can decide which equipment is what you want and how easy it is to use. The harnesses can also be used in the car as a seat belt harness, which is a good point. Makes it safer for all concerned.
Okay, another one I'm going to do is try and get my dog in my sidecar on my motorcycle.
Right. Next time we'll talk about puppy socialization.
Okay, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next month.